Politics, that's what you've become, and that's a very big statement. The Concerned Women for America, a very big statement. I was proud to be the very first candidate to sign your presidential pledge. That was a pledge that was very easy to sign. Took me about 30 seconds. I read quickly. I look at it. I say, I'm going to do that. You think Joe Biden would? First of all, he couldn't read it. He wouldn't know. What does this mean? No, I looked at it very quickly, and I said, that's perfect. But it's a pledge. It is a pledge, vowing to defend the dignity of women and affirming the ultimate truth that all women are female. Can you imagine if you said that 10 years ago? People would say, what the hell does he mean by that? Of course, it's incredible what's happened to our country and to the world to a large extent. But what's happened to our country, at last, think of it, all women are female, and I have to make that statement? It shouldn't be necessary, should it? As another statement we say, we will not allow the mutilation of our children. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? No, but can you imagine making that statement 10, 15 years ago? People would say, of course you're not going to do that. But now you have to stop it. It's crazy what's going on, but it's just one of those things. This world is changing, our country is changing, and a lot of the world is changing because of our country. Our country is in very, very serious bad shape, really bad shape. I want to express my profound appreciation to the true leader and of all of the people here are so incredible, whether it's Penny Nance or whether it's all of these incredible people sitting at these tables that I just met for the first time, and that you're out here on a beautiful evening in Washington. Washington, as you know, has some very serious problems with crime, with muggings and killings and fights and a lot of problems, and we're going to do something about Washington. We're going to bring in the federal government. We're going to federalize it. We're going to run it properly, clean it, make it safe. It's got to be safe for people to come to, and people want to see a safe city. It's very sad when I come in. We had a situation that was a lot different just 3 years ago, and now you come in and you hear the stats and you hear all of the things that are going on, and you see the graffiti all over beautiful marble walls. It's not removed, and you see parks that are occupied by people that aren't supposed to be there. It's a very sad thing when I see it, but we're going to straighten that out too, along with a lot of other things. 1 year from now, each of you will vote in the most important election of your lifetimes. This election will decide whether America will be ruled by Marxist, fascist, and communist tyrants who want to smash our Judeo-Christian heritage, or whether America will be saved by God-fearing, freedom-loving patriots just like you, and that's what you are. If we stand together in this fight, we're going to defeat crooked Joe Biden. And he is crooked as hell, isn't he, though? It's unbelievable. He didn't do anything wrong. How about the quid pro quo? We're not giving you the $1 billion unless you get rid of the prosecutor. How about if I said that? That's called the real quid pro quo. But we're going to take back our country, we're going to take back our culture, and we're going to make America great again, greater than ever before. Let me get it done, please. But just think of what we've already achieved with the help of many people, just like the people in this room. We did more to uphold religious liberty than any administration in history. I think everybody really admits that, even my opponents. Today, 2 of them came out and they said, well, that happens to be right. Actually, one of my opponents said that I was the greatest president in the last 100 years. And I said, oh, is he running against me? That's very nice. No, it's very nice. Look, they respect what we've done. I fearlessly protected the religious freedoms of doctors, nurses, teachers, and faith groups like the Little Sisters of the Poor. I blocked the IRS from using the Johnson Amendment to interfere with pastors' freedom of speech and other faith leaders. I stopped Barack Hussein Obama's hateful, bigoted assault on faith-based adoption and foster care services, as you know. And I restored your right to help those beautiful children find a loving and equally beautiful family. As president, I stood proudly with our friend and ally, the State of Israel. I kept my promise. I kept my promise, recognized Israel's eternal capital, and opened the American embassy in Jerusalem. Even got it built. I got the embassy built. Can you believe that? Would have taken 20 years, you wouldn't have had an embassy. That was an interesting one. I said, do we have any land? You know, they wanted to spend $2 billion to build it. We spent slightly less than that, like $500,000. Got it built. I said, do you have any buildings around? You know, we were always first, like, you know, whether you always try and do, if you want a real building, you always try and get the post office because they were there early. I happened to do that in Washington, D.C., actually. We redid it and did very well. It's been a great success. It's been a really beautiful building. But I said, let's get it built. Let's get it built. So they came to me. They wanted to spend $2 billion. I said, well, maybe we have land that's a better location. They had a piece of land, but it was a bad location. The real estate people, two of them in the back that are friends of mine, they're very good real estate people, too. They know what I'm talking about. So they went out, they checked. They called me up 2 days later. They said, you know, we do have a great piece of land, and it has a building on it. I said, that's even better because you can renovate the building for a lot less than it costs to build a brand new one. A lot of people don't know that. So I put a crew on it. I said, how much can we do? Can we build it great? They said, sir, we can do it for $350,000. And it's the first time I think this ever happened to me, like in my entire life. I said, that sounds too low. How the hell can you do it for that? It sounds too low. And anyway, so we got it done. We did it for a little bit more. We used Jerusalem stone. Everyone talks about Jerusalem stone in New York. They love Jerusalem stone. It's very expensive. I said, can we use Jerusalem stone? Because we're in Jerusalem, right? They said, yeah. I said, it's very expensive. They said, no, we're in Jerusalem. You know, I have a friend, he thinks it's the most magnificent stone, and he's willing to pay anything for it. So we did the whole thing in Jerusalem stone. We got it done for less than $500,000. We opened the embassy, not only designated, but we opened it. And we saved almost $2 billion. Think of that. And the $2 billion wouldn't have been spent. That building wouldn't have been built for 20 years, but we got it opened very quickly, and it's really beautiful. And there's no reason, in my opinion, to ever redo it. But someday they'll knock it down and spend $2 billion or much more. But I also recognized Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights, something that was going on for 58 years. I got it done. We got it done quickly, and I withdrew the United States from the totally disastrous Iran nuclear deal. Unfortunately, this administration hasn't done a damn thing about it. They've let that just go on and on and on. And then they made a deal, as you know, for 5 hostages. I said, all right, that sounds okay. 5 hostages. They had 5, we had 5. That sounds okay. But they forgot to tell me one thing. In addition to the hostages, they get $6 billion. You know that deal? You heard about that deal? That's not a good deal. That's not. What are they doing? It's a 5 for 5. They said it's a 5 for 5 split. Plus they get $6 billion. Oh, that doesn't sound too good. But that's what happens with this country. I've never seen anything like it, whether it was trade deals or any other kind of deal. It always seems that we get the short end. We did such a job on trade. We redid trade deals at a level that nobody's ever seen before and took bad deals like NAFTA, and we made them great deals, the USMCA. That's United States, Mexico, Canada. We did an incredible trade deal with China that I don't even talk about. They buy $50 billion worth of our farm product and manufactured product, but I don't even talk about it because of what happened with COVID. But South Korea, we did incredible deals. Japan, we did incredible deals. We took deals that were horrible and made them good. And we did a lot of things. We did a lot of things. We've been given, actually, a lot of credit, even by the fake news. But here at home, we totally transformed the federal judiciary. And as Penny said, I heard her opening remarks, and she said we appointed nearly 300 judges, really brilliant judges, and they interpret the law as written. Constitution, it's, we like to say the Constitution as written. That's the way they interpret. Together we withstood vicious attacks to confirm 3 great Supreme Court justices, Neil Gorsuch, Bret Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. Really good people, too. And I'm also proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Very important. We're going to talk about that in just a second. From my first day in office, I took action to protect the unborn. I reinstated the Mexico City policy, stopped taxpayer funding for the abortion of industrial complex. And at the United Nations, I made clear that global bureaucrats have no business attacking the sovereignty of nations that protect innocent life. They have no business doing that. And I was the first sitting president ever to attend, as Penny also mentioned, the March for Life rally right here in Washington, D.C. They talked about attending it. You know, presidents for years talked about attending. Oh, I'm going to go, I'm going to go. And then it happened that they didn't go. And none of them went, none of them. But I went, and it was a beautiful day. 1 year ago, in a victory that conservatives had been seeking for 50 years. 50 years they've been fighting for this. Those same Supreme Court justices and the Supreme Court ruled to end the moral and constitutional atrocity known as Roe v. Wade. Very important. Nobody thought that could be done. And so important, and it's not discussed right, it's not talked about right. To be honest, Republicans don't know how to discuss the subject, but they're the radicals, not us. The Democrats are the radicals. So now pro-lifers have a tremendous power to negotiate. You had no power whatsoever. There wasn't a thing you could do. But now you have tremendous power to negotiate, which they didn't have before the ruling. This moves the issue back to the states. Everybody wanted it to go back to the states. All legal scholars on both sides, they wanted it back to the states where it should be. Like President Ronald Reagan before me, I support the 3 exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. And I think it's very hard politically if you don't support, but you have to go with your heart. You have to go with what you believe, and you have to rely on your heart for that. But I do support the exceptions. Ronald Reagan did, and many others do. And I think if you don't, it's politically very difficult. But again, you have to go with what you feel. Remember, the Democrats are the radicals on an issue like this. This is a very important issue, but they're very radical because they're willing to kill babies in their 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th month, and even after birth. You know, they kill babies after birth. You remember the governor? I call him Michael Jackson, remember? He's a big fan of Michael. He was going to almost do the moonwalk, and then his wife stopped him. She did a great thing. It's probably the greatest contribution ever made to him. But he talked about the baby's born, and then we'll discuss with the mother what to do with the baby. This is the baby is born. And these are extremists, not us. They're the extremists. The politicians and the people that have this issue, they fought for 50 years to get it, and they have to know how to talk about it because they're not talking about it correctly. And when they do talk about it correctly, it's an issue that really can be positive because we do have to hold on to office. We do have to win. And we can win elections on this issue, but it's very delicate, and explaining it properly is an extremely important thing. You have to be able to speak and explain it properly. And a lot of politicians who are pro-life do not know how to discuss this topic, and they lose their election. We had a lot of election losses because of this, because they didn't know how to discuss it. They had no idea. I heard some of the people discussing it, and they just didn't have a clue. And we can't let that happen. It's an incredible thing. And we gave them this unbelievable power to negotiate a great deal. And remember, before the termination of Roe v. Wade, they had no power and you had no rights. No rights. And done properly, our nation, after 52 years, can finally come together. This has been a rough issue for our country for many, many years. And you can come together and you can have victory, but you can come together. But you have to be able to discuss it properly because it's so bad when I listen to people talking about it. They don't know what to say. They feel it, they want it, they love it, and from a religious standpoint, they love it so much, but they don't know how to talk about it. Another great victory for our movement last year, the Supreme Court issued a landmark decision protecting a thing called school prayer. That's pretty big, right? And just months ago, and this is one that people were very impressed with, the justices also ruled to move our country forward with a merit-based system of education. Now, who thought that was going to happen? In other words, if you get all A's, You get in. If you don't get all A's and boards and whatever it is to get in, you just, you know, they were having other people come in with marks that were very, very inferior. And now they went, think of it, we're back to a merit-based, this country's about merit-based, and we're back to a merit-based system. And I think that one got people by surprise that that's happened. But we're going to have a great country. We're going to have to base success on merit, not other things. And I think that was an amazing, I frankly think that was an amazing decision. But it's no wonder the far-left lunatics, perverts, and criminals are getting desperate to stop our movement by any means necessary. They are really trying to stop us, as you perhaps have read. It's all they're good at. They're bad at policy. They have no idea what they're doing. They have open borders. They have no voter ID. They don't want voter ID. I saw on the television one of these characters. There shouldn't be voter ID. Now, you have voter ID to buy a loaf of bread. You have ID to buy a loaf of bread. You have everything. You have pictures. When they had their Democrat National Convention, they had a picture, the biggest thing I've ever seen. They had fingerprints. They had everything you could possibly know about that person. That was to get into their room with thousands of people. They had, it was like a billboard. It was actually very much like my mugshot, if you want to know the truth. Thinking about it just right now. Big. But for voting, the most important thing for voting, there'll be no voter ID. And this guy was trying to explain why. There's only one reason they don't want voter ID, because they want to cheat. That's the only reason. There's no second reason. And that's all they're good at. As you know, crooked Joe Biden and his radical left thugs have weaponized law enforcement to arrest their leading opponent, by a lot leading, on fake and phony charges. It's a phony deal. This is high-level election interference, and it's happening for a single reason, because I'm the one candidate that they do not want to run against. You know, they always go out, we really want to run against Trump. If they wanted to run against me, I wouldn't be in courts all over the land fighting these maniacs off. They don't want to run. And if you look at today's polls that just came out, I'm leading Biden in just about all of them, and in some cases leading him by a lot. No, they don't want to run against me, but they say, you know, very smart. They're good. They're misinformation people. Disinformation and or misinformation. A lot of people don't know the difference. There's a very little difference, but we'll say it's both. Disinformation, misinformation. They say, yeah, we want to run against Trump. We're dying to run against him. First of all, we won in 2016. Same people said, he won't be able to beat Hillary Clinton. Now they say, he won't be able to beat crooked Joe Biden. Well, you know, I took the word away from Hillary, right? We call her now Beautiful Hillary. She's a beautiful woman. I took it away because it was so good, and it fit Joe Biden so well. But I don't like having a name the same for two people. So that was a great day for Hillary, because after 5 years, I stopped calling her crooked. So now I don't know what to call her, so I just call her beautiful. She's a beautiful woman. But he's crooked as hell. But just today, Fox has me up by almost 50 points on DeSanctimonious and beating Biden. 50 points. And Harvard-Harris, just as I'm walking on the stage, he just came out with a very similar poll, up by numbers that people, frankly, haven't seen before. And a lot of it's, you know, a lot of times they say, well, they don't like Trump, but they love his policy. No, I think they like me too, you know. You can't get elected if they don't like you. I mean, the policy is very important, but if they don't like you, but they always say, they don't like him, but they like his policy. That's why he has these good numbers, you know. But I love you, and I hope you love me. But we fight hard for you. But all polls are bearing this out, these big numbers. I mean, every one of them. I haven't seen one that's even slightly negative. It's driving a lot of people crazy. Oh, CNN's gone crazy. MSDNC has gone absolutely crazy. They don't want to talk about it. But on DeSanctimonious, as you know, I got him elected, but now he's a failed candidate. He failed. He failed before. You know, he came in, I gave him an endorsement, and we lifted him into victory. He was way, way behind. It was over. The race was over. I endorsed him, and he went like a rocket ship, and he won very shortly thereafter. And then I got him past the election, so I got him the nomination, then I got him the election. He ran against a guy at the time who was turned out to be a crackhead, but nobody knew that at the time. At the time, he was the hottest, one of the hottest guys. He was probably the hottest man in the Democrat Party, and Stacey Abrams is the hottest woman in the Democrat Party. He was going to be, they said, the governor of Florida. He couldn't stop him. Ron DeSanctimonious said, oh, I don't think we can beat him. I don't think we can beat him. Because he was. I mean, if you remember back, and I said, you beat him. And we did 2 or 3 giant rallies. We had unbelievable rallies, Trump rallies for him. And then he wins. And then 4 years later, somebody shouted out, will you run against the president? And he said, I have no comment. He said he had no comment. That guy's going to run against me. And I started hitting him, and they all said, sir, he's a Republican. You shouldn't hit him so hard. I said, like hell I shouldn't. And he went down like an injured bird out of the sky. And I'm actually quite happy about that. You know, a lot of people say, loyalty means nothing in politics, sir. You shouldn't mention it. You're wasting your time. I have genius consultants back there. You know, they get paid a lot of money. They say, sir, loyalty. They actually change their mind now because they see what happened. I said, no, I think loyalty is very important for people. They said, well, in politics, it means nothing. I said, maybe you'll be surprised, but I assume it did. You know, when I get somebody in office and then they turn around, I hardly spoke to the guy, hardly knew him during that period of years. But anytime Florida had problems, I was always there. But then he says a statement that essentially said he was going to run. And so we hit him hard. And he's really, in fact, in South Carolina, he's right now in 4th place. He's in 4th place. And I'm leading the 2nd place by 35 points. You know, they have 2 people. You have a senator and you have a governor in South Carolina. And they thought they were going to do well there. And they're not doing so well. It's a great state for us. And I think we have a lot of people here right now, and I just met a couple backstage from South Carolina. It's great. But we're leading by a lot there. We're leading by a lot everywhere, and a lot of it's because they do like me, but a lot of it's also because there has never been a more incompetent administration in the history of our country than these clowns and thugs and very bad people that are running our country now and destroying our country. There's never been anything like this. But most importantly, far and away, I'm beating Biden by a lot. If I wasn't running, or if I was in 3rd, 4th, or 5th place, or something in that category, none of this interference would have ever happened. None of this horrible stuff with U.S. attorneys and the FBI and DOJ. Oh, we're in a banana republic right now. Think of it. We did great. We won in 2016. People said we wouldn't win. We won. We won big. We did much better in 2020. You know, we got millions and millions more votes, many millions of more votes. We did something very few presidents do. Usually they get less votes a second time. People get bored. They get tired of them, like we're tired of this guy. And but we're tired of him for different reasons, not out of boredom. It's just out of, actually, he's very exciting because you don't know when he's going to just pop off and explode. You're watching everybody standing on eggs. You say, did he just say that? Did you see him yesterday? It's just not even believable what's going on. I don't know. It's hard to believe he's going to be running. Hard to believe he's going to get to the gate. I don't think he will. But if he does, he does. If he does, he does, whatever. But whether it's him or somebody else, we have no choice. We have to win. Because their views are just absolutely horrible. And we're going to be better than any other election we've ever had. We're going to get the highest. You know, in 2020, I don't know if you know that, the press doesn't like talking about, we got the most votes in the history of politics for a sitting president. No sitting president, almost 75 million votes. And that's what they say. That's not including the other votes that they forgot about. But we got the most votes in the history of politics. I was told if we got 63 million and we won. And I was told that if we got 63 million, we couldn't lose by the best pollsters. And we got about 12 million more votes than that. And they say we lost. You know, it's horrible. So they rigged the presidential election in 2020, and we're not going to allow them to rig the presidential election of 2024. We're going to bring our country back. Every time the radical left Democrats, Marxists and communists and fascists indict me, I consider it a great badge of honor. I really do. Because in a true sense, I'm being indicted for you. Thanks a lot, everybody. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And did you see today that deranged Jack Smith? He's the prosecutor. He's a deranged person. Wants to take away my rights under the First Amendment, wants to take away my right of speaking freely and openly. Never forget, our enemies want to stop us because we are the only ones that can stop them. They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. I'm standing here. Standing here, I am that, in another sense, I'm that wall. We built a very successful wall. You know, they like to say, we only built 50 miles. We built almost 500 miles of wall. These people are sick. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you, never. And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you. I just happen to be standing in their way. Unfortunately for me, but you're lucky. But here's just some of what we will do when we become, and I say we become, because we're going to become the 47th president of the United States. As soon as we get back in the White House, I will totally obliterate the deep state. And we started it. We're doing a great job. Then we got hit with the COVID. We fired Comey. We fired a lot of people. But we got hit with COVID, and we had to do a lot of other things. We did a great job on that, and we never were recognized. They recognized us for a lot of things. ISIS, we got rid of ISIS. Got you the largest tax cuts in history, got you the largest regulation cuts in history, had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We were energy independent. Think of it, energy independent. We're going to be energy dominant within months. And then they came along, and now look what's happened to your energy. It's not good. Now they want to go to all electric cars. They don't go far. They cost a lot of money. They got some basic problems. They're very expensive, and they don't go far. I think they want to keep you somewhere around your home. They don't want to build highways or something. They got some crazy plan. They always have something. You know, they want to build, I don't know if you know, all electric army tanks. Now, we have these army tanks. No, I just saw this yesterday. They want to build all electric army tanks. The army tanks, the greatest tanks, the Sherman tank, the greatest tanks in the world we built. So now when we go into obliterate a country with our army tanks, at least we won't pollute it with the pollutants pouring out of the back of the tank. And now they also want to go with a certain type of fuel to, it'll cut down about 12% on the efficiency of our fighter jets. They want to make our fighter jets very environmentally friendly. So we go into a war, we're over somebody's territory, we're bombing the crap out of them, but at least we're not polluting their air. Are we crazy or what? And the planes, think of this, the planes are 12% less efficient. So you got a pilot up there and he's got some guy on his tail. And he's saying, what the hell happened to my plane? I used to be able to get out of these situations. This plane is not so good anymore. And they're willing, because they don't want to pollute the air over a country that we're in war with. These are brilliant people doing this. They have to want to destroy our country to do this. And how about the truckers? Did you read about the truckers? They want to go all electric trucks. Now, there are a couple of basic problems, but I met with truckers, and they said every year for 50 years, the trucks got better and better and better. We expected it. We had to pay millions of dollars for trucks. But they got better, better, better. If they do this, we're going to go back 50 or 60 years. For one thing, and I had no idea, some of the big ones with the big tanks, they can go up to 2,000 miles with diesel. Think of that, 2,000. In other words, you can drive all day, all night, all day, all night, forever. But 2,000 miles. And electric will go, if you're lucky, 300 miles. So they're going to go 300 miles, stop for about 5 hours, and charge it up. And these guys, I don't know, does anybody not sit down? You don't even have to sit down. So they're going to destroy our trucking industry. And right now it's a regulation, and they're actually serious about it. I actually thought all this stuff with the army tanks and the jets and all the things, I actually thought it was, you know, some kind of a comedy skit. But it's not. They really mean it. And they're going to destroy our trucking industry. You think you don't get your goods right now, you're going to see some mess. But I will fire every corrupt official who has weaponized our government against Christians, conservatives, patriots, and people of faith. We're going to fire them. You're fired. You remember The Apprentice? I'm sure nobody remembers The Apprentice. You're fired. Get out of here. You know, that show ran For 12 years, it was a tremendous success. And I said, well, one thing I know when I do this, actually it was